Yay, nay, 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 nay. 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 Yay, 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 nay, yay, nay. Yay, yay, nay, 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 nay. Yay, yay, nay, 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 nay. Yay, nay, 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 nay. Yay, nay, 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 nay. And na 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 na. Yay, na 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 na. Yay, na 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 na. Yay, na 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 na. Yay, na 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 na 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 na. Yam na 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 na. Yam na 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 na. Yam na 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 na. Yay, na 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 na. Yam 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 na 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 na. Yay, na 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 na. Yay, na 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 na. Yam 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 na 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 na. Shabbat shalom, everyone. It's so nice to be with you tonight. Shabbat shalom. I know I, for one, am so happy Shabbat is here. I've been waiting for it all week. It's been a very long week. And I'm excited to recharge and rest on Shabbat. You may not know the person sitting next to me. I want to welcome you into Shabbat from my new home in Somerville, Massachusetts. And next to me is my friend, my colleague, and my roommate, Sarah Blumenthal. She's a fourth-year student at Hebrew College. And Sarah, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. It's wonderful to be with you all tonight. A little bit about me. I'm originally from the Chicago area and grew up at Andrea London Synagogue, Beth Emet in Evanston, Illinois. As Talia mentioned, I am starting my fourth year at Hebrew College, and I'm very excited to be welcoming in Shabbat with all of you. Thank you for having me.
Great, thank you. And again, this is our first week in our new home, so we're really excited to be celebrating Shabbat together. And also, it's really special that I get to celebrate Shabbat with Temple Sinai this week. It's not as often in the summer, so it's really nice to see everyone's faces. I invite any of you who feel comfortable to turn on your cameras. And it's just really, really special to see your faces and to be here tonight with you. We're gonna start with Shabbat candles. So I'm gonna share my screen. So we'll lose the gallery view. So I know it's one of the nice things about Zoom actually is that we can all see each other. So I'm gonna try to switch back and forth so we can see each other a little bit, but I'm mostly gonna have my screen share on so we can see the words of the Siddur. And then you can scroll through to see the faces of each other. So it's wonderful. And as Jeremy Wolf pointed out, we can also use the chat box to talk to each other, to wish each other a Shabbat Shalom. So I'm gonna share my screen and then we're gonna light the candles. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom. Again, nice to see everyone. We're going to start Shabbat by welcoming the Shabbat angels. It's so wonderful to be able to welcome people into our lives, and here we are welcoming the angels. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech
Malchei Hamlachim,
HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruch Hu L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seitchem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yanai nai nai nai, yanai nai nai nai, yanai nai, yanai nai nai, yanai nai, yanai nai nai nai, yanai nai 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 nai. We're going to turn now to Lechuna Ranana. Let us sing.
Lechuna Ranana
Adonai, Nariya Litzor Yishenu. Lechuna Ranana Adonai, Nariya Litzor Yishenu. Nekadma Fanav B'Toda B'Zmirot Nariya Lo. Nekadma Fanav B'Toda B'Zmirot Nariya Lo. Lechuna Adonai, Nariya Litzor Yishenu. Lechuna Adonai, Nariya Litzor Yishenu. Nekadma Fanav B'Toda B'Zmirot Nariya Lo. Nekadma Fanav B'Toda B'Zmirot Nariya Lo. So those two melodies were from a community in Jerusalem that both Sarah and I have been to several times, as has Rabbi Vogel, called Nava Tehillah, a very special community. And one of the things that I love that they talk about when they do the Lechuna Ranana, the let us sing, let us rejoice. It's more than just singing, it's rejoicing. And that comes sort of at the end of a long journey in the desert. And we're going to talk tonight in tonight's Torah portion. The book of Deuteronomy that we're in right now is recounting the Israelites' journey in the desert. And we're also in amidst these Shabbats. Last week, we observed Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, the day of mourning of the Jewish people. And we're in these, what's called the 5 weeks of comfort following that. And there's something really special about sort of a challenging journey and a challenging time, and saying amidst that, we're still gonna sing together and rejoice. So I like to lift that up, and often Nava Tehillah, this community in Jerusalem, does that with their melodies, with their meditations, with their community. So it's nice to be able to bring them into the space as well. We'll continue with Tov Hodot, a psalm praising God, saying it's good to pray God. It's good to praise God. We're on the third line from the top. Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Lehagid baboker chastecha. Lehagid baboker chastecha. Ve'emunatcha baleilot. Ve'emunatcha baleilot. Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Lehagid baboker chastecha. Lehagid baboker chastecha. Ve'emunatcha baleilot. Ve'emunatcha baleilot. Tov lehodot l'Adonai. We're going to go into Lecha Dodi, the psalm welcoming Shabbat. And I've said this before, but the rabbis in Tzfat used to prepare all day for Shabbat, and then they would run into the fields. They would run down the mountain that Tzfat is on, and they would run into the fields ready to greet Shabbat. And we are so privileged to be able to greet Shabbat tonight. Again, it's been a long week. I feel so ready. I'm sure many of you feel so ready. And I want to encourage you in the spirit of the people from Tzfat, in the spirit of those running out to greet Shabbat. I want to encourage you to sing Lecha Dodi as loudly as you can. I know our windows are open and our neighbors may be gathering to join us in singing this prayer, or they may be thinking, what are you doing? But in my mind, they're going to gather outside with us and sing this prayer, and sing it so your neighbors can hear, so we can feel as though we're singing with each other, we're hearing each other. And I invite you, it's our custom at Temple Sinai to do paragraphs 1, 2, 5, and 9. And our tradition in our sanctuary is to open the door when we recite the Boi Kala, come in, Shabbat Queen, come in. And so I invite you, if you're near your door or your window, open it up and invite Shabbat into your house, into your life, into your bodies. And we'll sing together, even though we're all in separate spaces. Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor v'dibur echad hishmi'anu el ha'miyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'Shem u'tiferet v'litila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki hi mekor haberacham מקדם נסוכה סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה התעוררי כי באורך קומי אורי שיר דברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצהלה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה יין 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 I want to invite you all to breathe in the spirit of Shabbat, the smell of Shabbat, the feeling of Shabbat. Take a deep breath and feel Shabbat enter you, enter your home, enter into your soul. Enter the smells if you have food cooking in the kitchen. And feel your feet grounded on the ground and the chair or the couch or anything you might be sitting on supporting you. And we want to wish each other a Shabbat Shalom. So I invite you to use the chat function to let everyone know you're here and wish each other a Shabbat Shalom. And I especially want to welcome those who have never been with us before, who are relatively new to Temple Sinai, to make themselves known on the chat so we can welcome you. And again, we're one big community, even though we may be logging in from our separate homes. So it's, again, really nice to see everyone's faces. Again, if you feel comfortable, feel free to turn on your camera and say Shabbat Shalom to each other on the chat. And we'll move into the Baruch, our call to prayer. Please rise if you would like. It's kind of, again, funny on Zoom. So feel free to remain seated. Feel free to rise if you want, whatever is comfortable for you. Yana nai nai nai, 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 yana nai nai nai. Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed Le'olam Va'ed Yanai Nai Nai 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 Yana nai nai nai, yana nai nai nai.
We've now arrived at the part of the service that is my favorite part because it is the Ma'ariv Aravim, the prayer in which we acknowledge the transition from day to night, from our busy lives to a much calmer, restful part of our lives of Shabbat, in this case tonight. And this is really my favorite prayer because it gives us a chance to look outside of ourselves and really pay attention to the outside world. to the changing skies, to the sunset, to that transitional liminal space between day and night. And we remember that our world is constantly changing, constantly evolving, and we are able to just take a moment and recognize that there is constant movement as well as rest, and that we can really appreciate the different poles and ways in which we can live our lives by looking inward as well as looking outward.
Beautiful. And we'll read together in Hebrew. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv arvim, v'chokhmah poteach sha'arim, uvitvuna meshana itim.
ומחליף את הזמנים, ומסדר את
את
הכוכבים,
במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו, בורא יום ולילה, גולל אור מפני חושך, וחושך מפני אור, ומעביר יום ומבין לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, Amari Varavim. And we're going to go into the Shema, but I want to take a pause here before we do. The Shema is such a fundamental prayer and such a special prayer. And I think this prayer has really guided me through the pandemic in terms of really thinking about the oneness, the interconnectedness of all of us. And we can pretend it's not there. But with something like this, it's right in our faces. And ideally, this is not a good way to think about interconnectedness and the spread of a virus. But certainly, I think it feels incredibly special. And I want to make a note. I have permission to do this, but this morning, I got to witness the conversion, the mikvah, the final part of conversion for Andrea Jones Barasaluse. I hope I said that right, Andrea. I apologize if I didn't. Who has been a part of our Temple Sinai community for a really long time, active in services, active in Torah study and learning. And it feels so special to be able to welcome her tonight as a Jew into the community, into our special Temple Sinai community. And I thought about the Shema, the last words upon emerging from the water. So the custom at the mikveh is to dip in the water 3 times, and you recite a couple different blessings, a blessing over the immersion itself, the Shechianu blessing, the blessing marking significant moments, and then you come out from those 3 moments and you recite the Shema, this mantra of proclaiming oneness, proclaiming wholeness, and proclaiming interconnectedness. And I just love the image. It felt like a very powerful image for me this morning to witness the recitation of the Shema as a new person entered the Jewish community. So I want to especially note that. And later in the service, we will sing a little celebration with Andrea. I do want to do that, but we'll save that for the end. And we'll all sing together. And again, I invite you to sit or stand, whichever is more comfortable to you for the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך. וקשרתם להיות על ידך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, Adonai Elohechem Emet. And we're going to talk about this paragraph a little bit related to our Parsha, our Torah portion tonight when we get there. Oops. And we're going to go into the Micha Mocha prayer now, the prayer upon arriving at the other side of the Red Sea, really the moment of celebrating freedom from slavery. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, norat tehilot osei feleh, norat tehilot osei feleh. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, norat tehilot osei feleh, norat tehilot osei feleh. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקי הים לפני משה ומרים. זה אלי ענו ואמרו, זה אלי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני קהל ישראל. We sanctify Shabbat. Again, Shabbat is this opportunity for rest, for recharge, really to nourish ourselves. It's so important to take a moment to have a built-in day for the week. We go all week. We are busy. We think about the things we have to do, or we think about the things we're not doing. And Shabbat really is this time to say, I'm just gonna be present. And we celebrate that, we sanctify that moment. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש. We'll move to the Amidah now, our standing, or on Zoom sometimes sitting prayer. But again, between this and the Shema, these are the two prayers that make up so many of our services, or both our morning service and our evening service. And again, one of the most fundamental prayers in Judaism. And we'll, as is our custom, we'll start together. We'll start reciting the first paragraph together, and then we'll offer an opportunity to go into a moment of personal prayer or reflection. And I want to invite you to think about one of the things, again, and I've mentioned this before, but we evoke the God of our ancestors, the God of Sarah, the God of Rebecca and Rachel and Leah and Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. And all of those people interacted with God and had their own relationship with the divine. And they asked for what they needed in that relationship. And when we evoke the divine presence in their way, we evoke the divine presence in the different needs that we have in our community, in our lives, in our community, in the world. And I invite you to really think about who is the God that you want to be asking for your needs to be met, asking for the world needs to be met, asking for our community, and thinking about the God that responded to our ancestors, and how we can bring that change today. So we'll start together and then go into a moment of personal prayer. Adonai sefatai tiftachu fi agiti latecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Koneh Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'imaot, U'Mevi Geulah Livnei Bneihem, Leman Shemo B'Ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ve'ezrat Sarah. And we invite you into a few moments of silent prayer.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov b'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
We've now reached the moment in our service where we offer a prayer for healing. And we're in need of a lot of healing right now. We're amidst a global pandemic, where so many individuals, our country, our world is in desperate need of healing. And we think about all of those affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. We think about the world, communities of color who are being disproportionate, and poor communities who are being disproportionately affected by this virus. We think about the violence going on in those communities, from the state itself, the very people who are meant to protect them. We offer our blessing for the first responders who are helping all those in need in our community. And we're just asking for healing, again, healing of the spirit, healing of the body, healing of the soul, healing of our communities and our world, again, at this time of such a desperate need for healing. And tonight we're gonna sing Debbie Friedman's Misha Berach, whose melody I think really evokes that need of healing. And tonight, in the Temple Sinai community, we're thinking about Robin Barinholtz, Doris Barinholtz, Amy Perlman, A.B. Haupt, June Zeiner, Jim Zeiner, Ronnie Meckler, Allison Santucci, Meredith Fine, Deborah Kaplan, Nicole Morris, Selma Grubert, Luann Luce, Ben Slavitt, Alan Brackup, Tyrone Cushing, Evelyn Opat, Cantor Sue Knight Deutsch, Michael Ben Bluma Vishmuel, Don David Ben Ezer Vachaya, Davida Emanuela Bat Yechezkel Ephraim, Velvel Ben Baruch Rachel, Shoshana Bat Moshe Ubella, Ephraim Ben Malka Rachel. And I invite you to share the names of those you're praying for healing in your own lives, either in the chat, or if you would like to unmute yourselves, you can share their names aloud too. And we'll take a moment so you can share the names of those you're thinking of. We wish all of those mentioned, either aloud or on our hearts, a refuah shlema, and we'll sing together. Misha Beirach Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishe Beirach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Again, we wish all of those in need of healing a refuah shlema, a speedy and full recovery. Tonight, this week, we read our Torah portion. It's called Parshat Ekev. We're in the book of Deuteronomy, and we are amidst this speech. The book of Deuteronomy is an epic, and I really mean epic speech of Moses's. This is Moses's last stand, last speech. And the book of Deuteronomy is mainly his last speech as the Israelites prepare to enter the land of Israel, and Moses knows that he is not going with them. So it's really his last moment with the Israelites as they enter a new phase of their journey. And we're right in the middle of that. And last week we looked at the V'ahavta paragraph of the Shema. So we're going to talk about that a little bit, but I actually wanted to focus on the Shema a little bit. I'm really struck. So this week we read a lot about, again, Moses is recounting a lot of the journey of the Israelites in the desert, and sharing maybe how things might be different in the future as they go into the land of Israel. And there's a specific paragraph that he talks about that actually in our liturgy, in traditional liturgy, is the second paragraph of the Shema prayer. So we have the line Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad, and then we have the V'ahavta paragraph that we sung tonight, and then there's a paragraph after that from this week's Torah portion. And actually, in the Reform movement, we have decided to take that paragraph out of our liturgy. For a few reasons, but among them, because it has some really challenging theology in there about things like reward and punishment that I know for me certainly don't resonate with how I view God, and doesn't really make sense to me. and yet I'm very intrigued by this paragraph, so I decided that it was okay to talk about as it comes up in our Torah portion. And so I'm very intrigued by this paragraph, and I wanted to take a deeper dive into it, and perhaps actually offer another way of thinking about it. So we know in the first paragraph, so our first paragraph of the Shema, the V'ahavta paragraph that's saying, love God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. It's talking about loving God, emulating God, doing mitzvot, and teaching our children. So that those are the main themes. So the question is, how do we do that? And the rabbis answer actually by taking care of our society, and they get that from the book of Deuteronomy itself. They say, and this comes from actually a few different more contemporary rabbis have kind of shared this interpretation in a different way. The book of Deuteronomy again is all about thinking about the Israelites' journey and thinking about their building a new society in the land of Israel. And so much of that society is based on the idea of taking care of one another, taking care of those in our society. And I actually, and building a society actually that's built on that value. And I think the second paragraph of the Shema, this one that we take out of our liturgy, although it has this theology around reward and punishment. So the idea is, if you do these things, if you follow God's mitzvot, if you do what I tell you, then I will do good things. Then God will allow it to rain. God will provide grass for cattle. God will make sure that there is food in the land, etc. So that is challenging. But the paragraph can also be read a slightly different way, and it's this idea that we're in a covenantal relationship with God. So our end of the bargain is making sure that we take care of one another. We, again, care for each other, care for the vulnerable in our society, as so many of our texts talk about. And as a result, God will make sure that the things that we need to live on, so it's not God providing us with the food in the desert, God provided us the manna that we needed to nourish ourselves. So here it's saying, no, in the land of Israel, you're building a self-sustaining society, but God will make sure it rains so that the plants grow. God will make sure there's grass so that cattle have something to eat and you can get your meat and dairy. God will make sure that there's enough food, that there's literally enough physical sustenance for us to be satiated. And what do we have to do? We have to take care of those in our society, and we have to not succumb to this idea of idol worship and worshiping other gods. So what does this idea of idol worship look like? To me, I actually think, and there's reason to think this way, it's not totally out of the sky, but to me, I really think it's this idea of not worshiping things like money and wealth and earning a profit and overvaluing people. And I think we can look at this, there's lots of reasons and how we can think about that. But if you think about idol worship, it's this idea of worshiping something physical, something literally like money itself. And this idea that the Shema tells us we need to bind it to our arms, put this idea of tefillin is binding this to our arms, it's serving as a reminder. So we need to remember these main messages to take care of our society and to not worship idols, to not worship money. And again, up until now, God provided them everything. God provided all they needed: protection, food, water, etc. But as they enter the land of Canaan, the Israelites are building their own responsibility. Their own society where they're actually sharing this responsibility with God. It's not all up to God anymore, but they are building it themselves. And this paragraph highlights their need to actually recognize the collective aspect of the society that they build. God is going to provide the necessary elements to succeed, but they actually have to do their end of the bargain. And I see the second paragraph as emphasizing this idea that wealth and success are a result of help, something that I often think about a lot. We often don't get to the places where we're at, to successful places, without the help of other people, of those around us, of the divine, however we think about it. And this paragraph is saying, remember that wealth and success are due to something greater than yourselves. It's not just personal. And yet, as the Israelites build their society, it's inevitable that inequalities will exist. We can't, it's nearly impossible to build a perfect society. There will be social divisions, there'll be injustices. The rich will become self-indulgent, the poor will feel excluded. People will not feel responsible for one another, and individualism will prevail. Trust will decline. Unfortunately, this sounds too familiar for us right now. But the book of Devarim, the book of Deuteronomy, what Moses is trying to do here is say, wait a second, we have a model for how to create a society that's not based on idol worship, that's not based on individualism and worshiping money, but that's actually based around people and loving people and prioritizing people over that stuff. It's very countercultural. It's countercultural right now, and it was countercultural back then. But Moses' speech is all about showing the Israelites that they have the ability to create that society, based on collective shared responsibility, and people over money. So how do we do this? How do we create this society? By each person sharing and bearing responsibility for one another and for society as a whole. By each person knowing the history of their own people and of others, understanding who exists within your society. So again, Moses' speech not only is giving them a blueprint for how to move forward, but it's recalling their own history, their journey from slavery into freedom. And by studying and understanding the laws that govern all, by teaching their children, by remembering that we were once slaves and now we are free, and we have choice, we can establish our own laws, just laws. And we care for the poor and the vulnerable among us. And furthermore, we do this by recognizing that there's a power greater than ourselves. This is Moses' main point throughout his speech, throughout the book of Deuteronomy. That knowledge, that understanding, that is what constantly helps remind us of our responsibility to one another and our mandate for helping each other, and that we are one community. So with that, I want to move into our concluding prayers of the service, the Aleinu prayer, that actually speaks to, it envisions a world of tikkun olam. It envisions the ideal world that we want to live in. So we'll move into that. I will share my screen. And again, we're using the Universalist Aleinu text. It's pretty new for us still at Temple Sinai. So it's this top paragraph here. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'atei kidula liyoser breshit, shehu noteh shamayim v'yoser haaretz, u'moshav yikaro b'shamayim mima'al, u'shchinatu zo b'govei meromim, hu Eloheinu ein od, v'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, Lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Al ken nekav lecha Adonai Eloheinu lirot mehera b'tiferet uzecha letaken olam b'malchut Shaddai v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz vayom hahu Yeah, Adonai Echad, Ushemo Echad. We'll move into the mourner's Kaddish. We remember those in our community, in our lives, who have died this week in different years, whose yortzites are this week, or who have passed away recently. And in the Temple Sinai community tonight, we're remembering Bertram Axman, Rosalind Altman, Carolyn Barracks, Nathaniel Boardman, Marianne Brown, Faye Feingold, Nathan Haas, Paul Kaplan, Sydney Kibrick, Abraham Cranler, Dina Gross Levengood, Grace Lopatin, James Maroney, Gertrude Odenheimer, Herman Singer, Lillian Timon, Rose Werner, and in the past 30 days, we're remembering the recent deaths of loved ones in our community: Heidi Lewitt, the mother of Mike Lewitt; Phil Katz, father of John Katz; Buena Alkali Perlman, aunt of Leor Alkali. And we offer Mike and John and Leor and their families condolences. And I want to invite you to include the names of others you're remembering tonight. Again, either in the chat box or feel free, we will take a moment to remember those names if you would like to unmute yourself and share the name of your loved one aloud, or of those you're thinking about.
The great Torah and Talmud scholar, Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz.
Thank you.
Barbara Barth-Feldman.
Thank you. And again, feel free to share names in the chat as well.
The people of Beirut, and particularly the firefighters that were killed in the explosion.
Thank you. Yep.
I'd like to remember my aunt, Kay Pokeras, and my other aunt, Janet Ruttenberg. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll recite the Kaddish. Again, I'll ask everyone to go back on mute if you unmuted yourself, and we'll recite the Kaddish. And may all their memories be a blessing. Zichronam livracha. Oh, do I have the Kaddish up here? Yeah, there we go. Yitkadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach yurteh v'yamlich malchuteh, be'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'gala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam omei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal, shmei d'chudasha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechamata, da'amiram v'elma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shamaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. We'll move into some announcements. Although it is still summer, we are beginning to think about the high holidays and fall. So we have a lot upcoming that we're really excited about. Wrong sheet. But I wanna make note of a few things happening within the next few weeks in August. We have a supporting mindfulness practice Saturday morning, August 15th, 9:30 a.m. with Alex Bournes-Weil. And again, all of these continue over Zoom. Not all, there's gonna be a few outdoor gatherings, but these ones, the Temple Sinai's Racial Justice Book Club just finished one book, and we're actually starting a new book called Dog Whistle Politics. And that the Racial Justice Book Club meets Monday night. The next meeting is gonna be Monday night, August 17th, 7:30 p.m. And if you would like to be involved in our racial justice work, you can let me know, especially if you can't make those Monday night meetings. Religious School and Sinai U registration is live. So if you have children at home, children or teens at home, don't forget to register. We're very excited for the upcoming school year. And I want to remind you that Shabbat services remain at 6 p.m. through the month of August. And then we are very excited. We are very sad not to be able to meet in person for the High Holy Days this year. But we are very excited for all the opportunities that are upcoming. And the High Holy Days are still about a month and a half away, but the month of Elul, the month of spiritual preparation leading up to the High Holy Days, starts in just about 10 days. And we have several things coming your way in the month of Elul. We have a new podcast coming out, Prepare Your Soul for the Jewish High Holy Days. And you can subscribe to that wherever you listen to your podcast, on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or you can get access to it on the Temple Sinai website. We invite you to take part in Temple Sinai's community art project, which is going to be a High Holy Day themed zine. So each of us are going to create our own artwork at home, and then we're going to bring it all together and display it at our High Holy Day services. And we have a few outdoor opportunities for those of you who feel comfortable being masked and socially distant outdoors. So our first thing will be Thursday, August 20th at 7 p.m. For an outdoor shofar blast gathering led by Rabbi Vogel, and that's going to be in Brookline. And I want to just make note of two other tzedek related things. One is next Wednesday. So this Wednesday, actually, we have the opportunity to have a meet and greet with candidate Bill Phelan for the Norfolk County Sheriff. So he's meeting several communities and he wanted to talk to Temple Sinai members. So I want to invite you to join that. And also I see Roberta Falk. Roberta Falk and Abby Cox have put together this wonderful, wonderful guide for voting in the primaries. And we really, at Temple Sinai, we take civic engagement very, very seriously. And we want to make sure that everyone exercises their right to vote. And so if you have any questions, Roberta's a great resource. Abby's a great resource. You can talk to me. But we also sent out over Constant Contact, and we'll probably send it out again, a very detailed guide to various races and what you need to know for the upcoming Massachusetts state primaries on Tuesday, September 1st. But early voting actually starts in August. So we want to be thinking about that. And with that, we'll conclude.
Now you have one more announcement.
We have one more announcement. Oh, the Israel. Yep. Thanks, Amy.
Everyone should have received today a letter regarding a program that the Israel Committee is sponsoring, which will be part of our year-long study this year. And we'd really appreciate it if you tune in, because we'll be talking about it during the course of the entire year. If you're curious as to know what it is, read your email.
Great. It's a conversation with Peter Beiner, and Jeremy Ben-Ami, which is very exciting. And I forgot, thank you, Jeremy. We have a wonderful opportunity for an oneg after. I encourage you to attend the oneg after this. Jeremy included the link in the chat, just an opportunity to connect for a little while longer. Bring your own food to the oneg. Thank you. And we'll conclude with Kiddush and then with a little singing also. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kichanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ava uvraton hinchilanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reshit ki hu yom techila l'mikra'e kodesh Zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim, kivanu v'acharta, v'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha, v'yava uvraton, hinchaltanu, baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha'shabbat, l'chaim. And before we say Hamotzi, we're going to do, again, we're so excited to celebrate Andrea's conversion to Judaism today. It was really a special and a holy day, a holy moment. And so we're going to sing words of celebration with her. So again, I invite you to sing from your homes. Siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov. Siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov. Yehelanu, 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 U'lechol Yisrael, Yeilanu, Yeilanu, Ulachol Yisrael. Yeilanu, Yeilanu, Ulachol Yisrael. And we'll say the Hamotzi, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. I'll unmute you all, invite you all to say Shabbat Shalom to each other. I encourage you to go to the Oneg following this service.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. And thank you for mentioning our election document, but I actually thought when you said my name that you were going to talk about how
Right.
Ellen Finkelstein and I are doing the service next week.
You're right. Ellen Finkelstein and Roberta Falk are leading services next week, so be sure to join.
Thank you.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
Thank you for
shalom.
joining us.
Wonderful to join you all.
Yay, na 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 na. Yay, na 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 na. Yay, 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 na 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 na. Yay, na 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 na. Yay, na 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 na. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.